grow. Uh, I would like to move to Aras. Aras, what is your thought on the purpose for your brand?
Yeah, that's a great question. I guess I would take a step back and say that I've experienced, this is not the first business that I've run. And I've had a lot of failure
Hmm.
in starting businesses. And one of the things that I learned is that um, when you start a business, it's hard. There's a lot of no's, there's a lot of failure. And um, if you don't believe deeply in what you're doing, it's really hard to keep
Hmm.
going. Um,
Hmm.
and creating a successful business is a lot like finding a needle in a haystack and what keeps you going. And so before I can ask the purpose of like what's the purpose of the business, I think what's my purpose in general,
Hmm.
right? Like that's a really important question for me in order to keep going. And we
Hmm.
have, my wife and I have two small children, and even though we didn't have children when we started, we do now. I think my purpose is to live in harmony with the planet
Hmm.
and to rediscover these old ways of being that we have kind of fallen by the wayside in the name of consumerism and capitalism. And
Hmm.
how do we rediscover these places in ourselves that are wild?
Hmm.
And then when we apply that to business, right? Like, so we have
Wow.
this dress company, and Christy and I didn't start out as activists or environmentalists at all.
Hmm.
It was, she could make beautiful dresses and she loved the dresses. And so we said, all right, well, if we're going to make beautiful dresses, how do we make them in a way that works for us?
Hmm.
And so that means like having them made here domestically, having them made in our own city. And then what fabrics do we use? And as we started to research textiles and that manufacturing process, we knew we didn't want to be a part of I'm sure you already well know just how intensely extractive the conventional textile industry is.
Yeah.
And so we were able to hang our hat on dead stock. We were able to use dead stock, and that answered a lot of questions, right?
Hmm.
It one, economically made a lot of sense because we were small and there was no minimums on dead stock.
Hmm.
But also we weren't contributing to this incredibly toxic footprint that the textile industry has. We were just using what was left over, and that was
Hmm.
awesome. That was great, and our customers really responded, and we told that story, and um, and just as much as we've informed our business has informed us. And so as we
Hmm.
saw this success in telling the story of using dead stock, we
Hmm.
asked ourselves, how could we go further? How could we be more in alignment with what people are asking for?
Hmm.
And it's amazing to hang your hat on the idea that but what's more amazing is hanging your hat on the idea that you're actively part of a solution. And
Uh-huh.
so rather than simply relying on the excess of a very toxic system, we
Yeah.
asked ourselves, could we be part of an alternative supply chain that is not
Hmm.
extractive, that's not
Yeah.
sustainable, it's rather regenerative, right? So like to
Hmm.
take a step back on sustainability, like, do we want to sustain the wildfires? Do
Hmm.
we want to sustain the pandemic? That's what sustainability means. It means that we'll get more of what we're doing now. So
Hmm.
sustainability is not enough. Like, we can't be sustainable. We
Hmm.
have to regenerate. And how
Hmm.
do we do that? And so last year, we leased 50 acres of land with our partner in India,
Hmm.
Oshadi, and we're growing our own cotton regeneratively, and we're growing the indigo and the vegetables that will be used to vegetable dye these fabrics and weave these fabrics. And we're using hand looms. And so we've kind of rediscovered these systems that um, have been in place for thousands of years, but have been thrown by the wayside
Hmm.
in the name of efficiency and profit.
Hmm.
And so this for us is how we're currently expressing
Hmm.
this desire to connect with the wild and
Wow.
to be more in balance. And it's ever evolving and changing. And I could go into like our intersectionality and the places that we're learning that we get to move into those places, but I think that's a good start.
Wow. Excellent, man. I mean, so it's a very, very